What up, everyone? How's it going? Thank you for joining us again for another Live with Nekky Jamal show. And this week we have, a dude that I've really looked up to. I met him a couple years back and I've been following his progress. And he's almost the dentist I want to be. He's a GP, but he does it all, and he's a badass surgeon at the same time. He takes amazing photos. He has the coolest website I've ever seen for a dentist, and he's just a down to earth dude. And I'm really excited for you all to meet my man Vir Gutierrez. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks, Nikki. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, man. I'm really glad you're doing these types of shows where people get to know the personal side of
Yeah.
the dentist, and it's exciting, man. Thank you so much for having me here.
No, man, it's cool, but I want to learn about you, man. Like, tell me your background, tell me your history. How did you get into dentistry? Just share with the world, man. Let's hear it.
Excellent. I'm going to start from the beginning, Nikki. All
Yes,
right.
sir. Yeah.
So I'm originally from Mexico. I was born in Mexico, and I'm from a very small town. It's pretty much a little village in the middle of nowhere in northern Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Population maybe 400. Yeah,
Really?
very
Okay.
small
Okay.
town. Yeah. I grew up there till I was about 5, and it's one of those towns where there's only one paved road, and you see the chickens cross the road, and the cows eat the grass right next to
Yeah.
your house. It's a little town, but I had a great childhood. Came to the U.S. when we were about I was about 5, and my sister maybe 8. And
Okay.
probably one of the best things that my parents did for us, because it brought us to the U.S. and it opened a lot of doors for my family, for myself. I went to school in the Valley in South Texas,
Okay.
and then graduated, made my way to dental school, and I went to dental school in UT Health Science Center, San Antonio.
Oh, wow. Man, you skipped over what I think is quite a lot. So, man, you grew up in Mexico. Do you still have a lot of family there? What was that like?
Yeah, so I still have most of my family in Mexico. I have some family here in the U.S., but we grew up with very little, and
Yeah.
at the same time with so much. So I'm very thankful for my mom and my father as well for working very hard to bring us to the U.S. I every weekend we would go back to Mexico, and we'd spend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with our grandparents and with our friends down there, and then we'd come back to the U.S. and go to school Monday through Friday, and we did
Really?
that for yeah, we did that through the our entire school life till we
Yeah.
were seniors and graduated, and then headed out to college.
So it was like a common thing. You would just go to school during the week and then be like, "Kate, we're going to Mexico on the weekend."
Yes, it was just like
Really?
that. I didn't know. Yeah, it was amazing, man. I had a really great childhood. I learned how to drive at 8
Yeah. Yeah.
in the ranch. I used to go hunting when I was a little kid. I used to spend the days, the weekends in the mountains by myself, hunting, with a BB gun
What?
and
Yeah. Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
back home. It was amazing.
Really, man. That I just find that so interesting. Like I've been to Central America a ton. I've never been to Mexico. But I spent a lot of time in Guatemala and Nicaragua, and I see what life is like there, and I hear what you're saying because I talk to the kids and I see the kids there, and they have a totally different childhood than a kid in
Hmm.
Canada or the U.S. would. We're very sheltered, whereas down there, exactly what you said. You're in the mountains. You have
Yeah.
free reign almost. Um, do you find that maintaining that cultural identity made you into the person you are today? Like, can you imagine what your life would have been like if you were just like you left to Mexico and you were just in the U.S.?
Oh man, I think that if I would have stayed in Mexico, it would have been very difficult to be where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I think as an immigrant coming to the U.S. and my father and myself and now having kids, and I look back and when I was in this small town, all I could think about was leaving this small town.
Yeah.
And now as I grow older, all I can think about is just going back to the simple life, because as
Yeah.
you begin to become an adult, things get complicated, and
Yeah.
life becomes harder, and you start to look for the simple things in life. And I've had very good memories of Mexico. I love Mexico.
Yeah.
I identify myself, as a Mexican American.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm extremely thankful to be here in the U.S. and all the opportunities that it's brought for me.
Absolutely. So how far is it, like where you went to, like high school and stuff from your hometown in Mexico? How far was that? Like where you would travel every
So
weekend?
it wasn't the border. So we lived right across the Rio Grande River. Actually, we could see the Rio
Oh,
Grande River
yeah.
from our house in the
Yeah.
U.S. So it would take about an hour and a half to go to Mexico, to my hometown in Mexico. So it was a very fast, easy drive.
Really? Man, I just find
Easy
that
drive.
so cool. Like you become an American, but yet you still connect with your roots every week. Like I think that's awesome. I have a lot of respect for that, man. That's really cool. What I found interesting by you saying that is when like I grew up in Canada, but my parents are originally from East Africa, and I grew up in a white neighborhood, and I would always be kind of ashamed of, like, why does my food smell different? Why do I look different? I tried to blend in, and I didn't want that
Yes.
part of my history to follow me. I wanted to be just like everyone else. Did you ever have moments like that?
I was very fortunate, Nikki, because
Yeah.
where I grew up in the US, everybody was like me.
Yeah.
Everybody was from Mexico, now living in the US. So it was very easy for us coming into the US and to essentially assimilate, you know,
Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because everybody was just like me. But when I left this small town, that's when I
Hmm.
realized, the world is different.
Yeah.
I love to travel, and we'll talk a little bit more about
Yeah. We
that.
will. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but when I was a kid, we never had an opportunity to travel. So all I knew was just Mexico and my hometown in Roma,
Yeah.
and that's all we did. So I didn't understand the complexities of the world and fitting in and not being able to fit in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned that as I grew older. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately. But no, I
Yes.
hear that, man. But so you decided on dentistry, like how did you even go in that direction? What made you go down that road?
This is a very good question, Nikki, because I never went to the dentist when I was a kid. Can you believe that?
Okay.
My my first experience with a dentist was with my ex-girlfriend back then. I
Yeah,
was 17 years old,
yeah,
and she went to the dentist, so I tagged along. And the dentist was like, "Hey, you want me to do a checkup on you?" And I was like, "Well, I've never been to the dentist, sure."
yeah,
And luckily, I didn't have a cavity back then, and to this day, Nikki, I
yeah.
don't have any fillings, I don't have any crowns, I don't have any sealants, I don't have any
Yeah,
cavities. I'm just lucky because my mom always said, "Brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your
yeah.
teeth." So that was my first interaction with the dentist. I always wanted to be a musician.
Oh,
I
okay.
play a lot of jazz.
Yeah,
Actually, I
yeah.
got a full paid scholarship to go
What?
and be a music major. Yeah, full paid scholarship to be a music
Wow.
major. But before I went to college, I went on a trip, and we went to actually the dental school in San Antonio with my ex girlfriend back then. I know my
Yeah,
wife's
yeah.
probably listening right now, but this is the
We love
story.
you. Yeah. This is the
And
story, yeah.
and she wanted to go into occupational therapy, so she said, "Hey, there's a trip to the dental center in San Antonio, you should come." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, I don't want to go to medical school or dental school, but I'll go for the trip. It's a trip. I'm in high school, I never get to travel, so
Of
sure,
course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
let's do it."
Yeah.
So I went there, and I had a different perspective of what dentistry is. But on the way back, the guy that was in charge, his name was Dr. Ramirez. He was an
Yeah.
older physician, and he would take kids from underserved areas to to come and experience things outside of our town. To kind of open our eyes to what's out there. And he was in the bus, and he came up to me, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And I'm like, "Oh, my name is Virgilio," which is a
Yeah.
very a very unique name, Virgilio Gutierrez. And then he said, "Hey, I know Virgilio Gutierrez," and then it ended up being my father. And so he
Oh.
knew my father. and they
Yeah.
were good friends. And that's when he's like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, well, I'm thinking about law school or music. And he said, if you're good with your hands and you want to live a good life, maybe you should consider dentistry.
Yeah.
And that was the first time ever I began to think maybe I can choose working as a dentist, and I started to look up dentistry, and I thought, what a great way to have my own business, to help people, to
Totally.
challenge myself, to
Yeah.
work with my hands, to be an artist, and to have time for family. And it's been way better, Nekky, than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
When I thought about dentistry and dental school, I thought about fillings or veneers, but man, it is beyond that. It is about meeting new people,
Yeah.
people with the same passion,
Yeah.
being able to travel, being able to share, being able to help people, being able to challenge myself,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
feel fulfilled. It's an amazing career.
Totally.
Amazing. I made the best decision, I think.
I couldn't I that you're preaching to the choir, because what you're saying totally resonates with how I feel. I feel like we are so fortunate to do that. And
Mhm.
like I came home today, like I was racing home because I gotta do this. And today I pulled 8 sets of wisdom teeth. So from eight different people. And I was like, how freaking cool is it that I had the best day ever, gave everyone a high five when they came in and when they left. And people trust me to do this. And, I know that all 8 of those people are going to be like, they're going to heal great. We do have the best job in the world. I
Mhm.
truly believe that. But I really think dentistry is what you make of it. And we've kind
Yes.
of gone on similar but yet different paths. But I want to learn about your path because I'm truly fascinated by it, because you do some really cool stuff. You travel. I thought I travel a lot, man. You travel a heck of a lot more than I do. During this pandemic, you've still been going away, and I've been sheltered in my basement making videos here. But I wanted to learn, how did you get into the surgical aspect of
Mhm.
dentistry, because you do amazing and you take such great photos too. I want to talk about that as well. How did you get into the surgical part of dentistry?
Something, Nikki, when I graduated, I didn't want to know anything about school.
Yeah.
I thought CE was dumb. I
Yeah.
used to think, why would I want to pay to learn more? I'm done with school. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
free CE, get my 12 hours, and just work and make money.
Yeah.
And this was my poor mindset about what I needed to do in dentistry, you know?
Boom. You nailed it right
And
there. It's mindset, man.
I learned the hard way, that if I want to do something with my life and improve myself and differentiate myself, I needed to do more because everybody's a dentist,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to differentiate yourself, you need to offer something unique to yourself as a person and as a dentist and to your patients.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the eye opener was when I worked with probably one of my first mentors. His name was Dr. Gallardo.
Okay.
He was an oral surgeon from Mexico that came to the U.S. to practice as a GP,
Oh,
and
okay.
so he could do everything. And he had an office in a not so nice area, but something I admired and I still remember to this day is that everything he had in his office was working in top condition. He had the best composites, the best surgical instruments, the best dental chairs. Everything was the best. And he always said, hey, if something's not working, tell me right away so I can fix it. He was very proud of who he was and the environment that he worked in, and that made me feel really good. And I always saw him reading and reading and reading during lunch break, just reading journals, reading articles, traveling all the time to take CE, taking time off work. And I was like, man, this guy, why is he taking time off work to go
Yeah.
study if he can be making money?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I admired him a lot. And so when I asked him, I'm like, how do you do all this? And he's like, if you want to be the best, you need to invest in yourself. And that's
Yeah.
probably the best investment that you can make.
Totally.
Invest in yourself, grow as a person. And so I'm like, where do I start? What do I do? And he's like, what do you like to do? And I'm like, well, I like to do surgery, but I don't know much about it. And
Yeah.
so he's like, go take a surgical course, go take an implant course. So the first course I took was at the McGarry Implant Institute in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and that the first time I went, and that was pretty much the first CE I had ever taken, and
Hmm.
I just fell in love with it. I was hooked. I wanted to travel all the time to start taking CE, and I knew it was going to be a journey as well. You know, my mind was open to just keep going and going and going, and I understood that it's not a weekend course or once in a year. It was something that I needed to do over and over and over and over. So that was my first kind of my first foot into starting to take CE.
Dude, I love it because it's invest in yourself. And I
Hmm.
think personally, like everything I've ever done when I've not been, intricately involved in it, whether that's investments outside dentistry or anything you do on a daily basis, if you don't dive in and if you don't, jump into it wholeheartedly and willing to learn
Hmm.
everything you can, it never works out. And I think the same goes for dentistry. And I think you're totally you're hearing what I'm saying, because if you need to invest in yourself, because that will be the best investment you ever make, for sure. And
Yes.
I totally agree with the whole surgery component. Is I think it's hilarious when people are like, I want to go take this course, but it's $3,000, and I'm like, yeah, so. And they're like, but like, who spends $3,000 on a course, man? I bet you I can find the same course for $800. And I'm like, you're really gonna quabble about 2 grand when this course is
Yes.
substantially better, and you will make. Yeah, I can't even get over it. It blows
Yes.
my mind away. And I'm like, man,
Yes.
travel, go take the best courses out there, because your patients deserve it and you deserve it. You need to be fulfilled
Yes.
with your job. And if you aren't fulfilled by taking the best CE out there and being the best you can be, you're never going to come home happy.
Yes. Yeah. You
Yeah,
know
man.
something, Nikki? My one of my mentors told me something. He's from Brazil,
Yeah.
and he told me something which was like an analogy with football. And he said, because I was laughing because my friends always say, "Man, Virgil, you always make me spend so much money. You make
Yeah.
me buy this camera, you make me buy this instruments, you make me buy this stuff, you know."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so my mentor is the same to me. Every time he's like, "You got to get this kid, you got to get another one." And so I'm always buying stuff, buying stuff to implement and integrate. And one time he's like, "Hey, you got to get this kit." And I'm like, "I already have two different ones." He's like, "Yeah, but you need this one because you never know when the other ones are not going to work." And I told him, "Man, Paolo, you make me spend so much money." And
Yeah.
he says, "You know something, Virgilio? You need to think about it like this. Why do you think you shouldn't play with the best jersey and the best soccer ball in the best stadiums in the world?" And it's true. He's
Yeah.
like, "You deserve it. Why do you think you don't deserve to do that?" And man, I thought about it and I'm like, I do. I deserve to use nice instruments and to use good materials for my patients and to have a nice environment that I'm proud to come in and work every day and feel good. And that goes back to just investing in yourself. It shouldn't hurt because it's for us, it's for our patients.
Totally, man. And so when anyone wants to invest in their offices or invest in that, I totally agree. I say the same thing, man. I like that analogy though. Like, why wouldn't you want to wear
Yes.
the best jersey and play in the best stadium? Do you want to, play in your
Yes.
backyard? Are you gonna, find some cheap tools on eBay and do some dentistry in your garage
Yes.
and like it's crap, right? No, I
It's
really
true,
like
man.
that. No, I like that. But I want to jump into this because you
Yeah.
travel a ton to Brazil. What is going
Yes.
on in Brazil that is driving you there? It
Man.
seems like almost every month I see you jet setting off away, and then you're doing surgeries down there. What is going on down there? How did you get involved
Man,
in all this Brazil stuff?
Brazil, I think Nekky probably I can say has been the major factor in the type of dentistry that I practice nowadays,
Yeah.
and has influenced me to become the dentist that I am for sure. I first got a glimpse of Brazil when I got engaged actually in Brazil. That was my first trip. I proposed to my wife in
Oh
Rio de
wow.
Janeiro back in 2011, and ever since I've fallen in love with Brazil. I was at a Dental XP convention one time, and I saw Christian Coachman for the first time.
Yeah.
back in 2013, I think. And for the first time, I saw dentistry with different eyes. You know, it was about being cool,
Yeah.
about being
Dude,
proud of the work that
I
you
saw
do.
the same presentation, man. I totally agree. This guy
Yeah.
comes in looking like a different CE dude.
Yes. Yeah.
That was 10 years ago. He's young. He's wearing like a nice blazer and he's cool.
Yes.
Dude,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
hear that,
Yeah.
man. That's totally, we had the same experience. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, interrupted you. Yeah, yeah,
it, it was a different type of dentistry. It was
yeah,
a dentistry for the dentist. It was something that you could feel happy about and proud to be.
yeah,
And so I learned that he was in Brazil and that he was going to be teaching. He was going to have like a DSD world tour. So I said, man, I need to go. This is why I love Dental XP, because it gives me a chance to see people where they're from. Then
yeah,
I can say, man, I love that lecture. I'm going to go to that country and learn from that guy, you know?
yeah,
And this has really helped me. So when I thought, okay, I'm going to go to Vegas for this DSD world tour, they
yeah.
canceled the Vegas one. And the next one was in Abu Dhabi. And so
Yeah,
I went to my wife and I'm like, they canceled Vegas, but I'm going to the next one. And she's like, okay, yeah, go ahead. And I'm like, well, it's in Abu Dhabi. And man, she's so supportive. She's like, go ahead,
really.
go to Abu Dhabi. Yeah. She's never ever said, why are you taking so much CE? Why are you going here? It's always been, yes, do it. Do it. I support you. I love you. Go as much as you want. She's never once complained about me being gone so much. She's probably the reason why I'm able to do this, because if I didn't have a supportive wife, it would be impossible for me to be
Yeah,
living my dream. So
totally.
I'm very thankful. That was my first experience traveling abroad. And ever since, I began to think, okay, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to look at the best people who I want to learn from, and I'm going to go into their environment and I'm going to become friends with them,
Yeah,
and I'm going to learn from them, and I'm going to make them be my mentors. So that
that's
was how I
awesome.
started to do this. I went to Brazil to see Coachman in his office through other friends. Andres Acevedo, I met many, many Brazilians. I met Paulo Cano. He became super good friends with me. I went to Brazil 3, 4 times to his institute. Andres Acevedo also told me about my good friend and now mentor Paulo Fernando de Carvalho from Implante Perio,
Yeah.
representing right here. Where is it on this side?
Oh,
Implante
yeah,
Perio.
yeah, yeah.
And he said, you need to go take this. If you like surgery, if you like, and you want to learn about perio, you got to meet this guy. You have to meet this team, Implante Perio. And I was like, well, tell me why. And he said, I can't tell you. You need to go and you have to experience. And he was right, Nekky. I went and I took this phenomenal 1 week course. And every time I explained to somebody else and I said, you got to go, and they would say the same thing. Why? Why should I go there? Why should I pay that much money and go all the way to Brazil? And I said, you have to
You
experience.
just got to
And
go.
the you got to go. And my friends that have been there have always said the same thing. They're like, man, you were right. It's such a different experience when you're there. You learn so much, not just about clinical excellence in Brazil. I think this is something that I've really learned about, but the simplicity of being the dentist that you want to be without being influenced. Here in the US, you think about dentistry when you graduate and you think about you have to have 20 ops and 5 hygienists,
Yeah, yeah,
and you have to take all the insurances and you have to do all these things. But it doesn't have to be like that. And in Brazil, we see this in a very clear way. It's like, how do you become successful? How do you become the clinician that you want to be without having to do all these crazy things? And just like you said, at the end of the day, clinical excellence also means being happy with the type of dentistry that you provide. Because if you're happy and
yeah,
you have the time to do the dentistry that you want to do, it's the only way you can achieve clinical excellence. You need to have time to do good dental work. And to do that, it's very hard to have 10 ops going at the same time if you're the only dentist there. If you
yeah.
have friends that you work with, it's different, but I can't do that. I
Neither
can't
can
do
I,
that.
man.
So
I do it and I struggle, man. No, I
it's tough, man.
I hear that. It's the grind. I love the grind, but it
Yes,
gets to you definitely. Man, tell me about this
yes.
implant. How do I say it? Implant. Can you speak Portuguese? Like how do you get around
Uh,
Brazil all the time?
you know something, Nekky? I learned Portuguese going there so many times. I never studied Portuguese, but now I understand pretty much 95% of Portuguese. You know,
Really?
speaking Spanish has helped me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can also get by speaking Portuguese now. So yeah, my friends, every time they go, they come back and they're pumped. They're like, I'm gonna learn Portuguese too, because it's just part of the experience of going down there. You know, it's like being a better clinician, being a better
Yeah.
person, and just growing in general.
Man, if I come down, you better be ordering me a pitcher of Caipirinhas. I don't even know
Oh
if I'm saying
man,
that
for
right,
sure.
man. I see you drink
Yes,
them all, and I'm
yes.
like, I gotta go down just for that, man. But
Man, that's
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say that's part of the experience too.
I
You know,
know.
it's like a lot of people when they see me go to Brazil, they're like, "Oh man, you're going down there again. That's awesome." But they don't see the hard work. You know, we're usually
Yeah,
there doing surgeries from 8 in the morning till 8 or 9 at night. You know, and we finish, and then we all go have dinner together. We have drinks till like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, talking for 1 week straight, waking up at 6, sleeping only 4 hours, and repeating every day for 6 days the same thing. And
really.
it's amazing, man. It's amazing. And going back to your question about implanted perio, I think
Yeah,
this group has really changed. I think the way I see, at least not just implant dentistry, but dentistry as a whole.
really.
And
Okay.
yeah, for sure, they made me see that I need to invest in myself, invest in good instruments. You know, because I see them and I see the work that they do and I see what they use, and I want to come back and do the same. I realize, you know, you can't cut corners if you want to achieve excellence. You have
Yeah,
to use good instruments, you know, to make your job easier, and again, invest in yourself. So these guys have really made me visualize and understand to have a clear path that implant dentistry is not just about the implant surgery. You know, there's so much more around it. And if you want to have good control and good outcomes in implant dentistry, you need to understand and manage soft tissues very well, you know?
right.
And when you begin to learn to manage soft tissues very well, then you understand, guess what? You need to understand and manage GBR very well, you
Totally.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
And when you learn how to do that, you go back to the restorative aspect because you can do very good implantology, very good soft tissue management, and very good, reconstructive surgery. But at the end, I learned that I needed to also take control of the restorative part, more than just working with a lab, but actually having our own milling machine now in our practice
Oh,
because
really? Okay.
oh man, it's been crazy because I begin to feel I need to have control out of every aspect of the entire procedure. You
Yeah.
know, from the treatment planning to the extraction to the grafting to the implant to the tissue grafting, all the way down to the design of the prosthesis through our planning center, and then milling it and glazing it and staining it and just, trying to have full control out of everything really feels very rewarding. It's hard, but I really enjoy it a lot.
It's a lot of time, and I think that's what keeps a lot of us dentists on the sidelines. Like we want to be good at everything, but then I
Yes.
listen to you and I'm like, man, this guy is going all in. Like milling machine, like you said, like you need to be a part of every single step of the way. That's a lot of time
Yes.
outside the clinic. Like, I mean, outside seeing
Yes.
patients that you're there after work, like doing all this. Hey, how do you balance,
Yes.
how do you balance that with your home life? Like you just said, your wife is, and your kids are there waiting for you when you get home, but yet you're at the office milling
Yes.
abutments here. So how do you balance this, man? Teach me, man, because I struggle with that.
Yes. I think this is probably one of the things that maybe not necessarily I struggle with, but this is a challenge for me. Nekky. You know, when
Yeah.
I think of struggles, I think of, you know, of really difficult times in my life where I didn't have a vision of what I needed to do. And now as I grow older and I practice more, I begin to see struggles more as challenges because I
Mm.
have a clear vision of how I need to tackle the challenge, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I have this clear vision, it's a lot easier, but I have many challenges. This is a challenge, you know, balancing family and work.
Yeah.
And the more I integrate into my practice and the more I try to implement, to try to take control over, it takes time away from other aspects of my life. And one of them is my family. You know, I'm thankful that my wife is very supportive, but I have two girls, Catalina, who is 7, and
Yeah.
Daniela, who's 4.
Oh man.
And
Yeah.
man, they need a lot of time, you know. So one of the things that we were talking about earlier, actually, about passion and purpose and being able to differentiate passion from purpose, you know, and passion being dentistry, purpose
Yeah.
being our life. I learned this from my friend Kyle Stanley. I heard him talking about this, and I never really understood this until I heard him talk about this. And I then when he said this, everything, you know, I had a vision now. I was able to differentiate my family and work and understand that I need to spend quality time with my family. So it's not, I think Mark Kwan talks about this too. It's not the
Yeah.
amount of time you spend with your family, but the quality of time that you spend with them. So I really try very hard to balance, you know, my work and family. If I travel, for work, I need to travel with my family too. You know, if I take time off to go to CE, I need to take time off to go with my family, to spend time with my family. And I cannot think, oh man, I'm going to miss work. I'm not going to make production. I can only do it for CE because that's what we're thinking. You know, we have to
Yeah.
essentially keep the office open and we have to pay our staff, our team
Yep.
while we're gone and we're not making money. But you know, that goes back to, it's an investment. You know, it's an investment in our practice, it's an investment in our family. And yeah, it's not easy. I think the trick is having a team that helps you grow, and you learn how to do things and then you pass it on to them so that eventually they can begin to take over all these things. So, you know, having good systems in your office, having a
Mm-hmm.
good workflow, being a leader in your office, you know, not just a boss, but somebody that your team feels they can learn from and grow with, is very important. You know, they need to feel proud of the work that we do so that they can, you know, feel as motivated as we are to learn dentistry. And for them, it's a challenge too. It's like, I want to learn how to mill and I want to learn how to stain and glaze and do all these things and give excellence to the patient as well.
Man, I love that. But I'm gonna follow that up with one question here, man. I
Yes.
struggle, and this is even if no one agrees with this, who's ever listening, I struggle taking time off because I'm like, man, I got goals at the office. My like you said, my staff is there. I got a team of 32 people. It's a big office. I can't. Man, it's part of the grind, like you were saying before. But like,
Yes.
it's hard for me not to be away because I always feel like I'm missing something or I need to make decisions. How do you leave the office? Because I know you do it. How do you separate that? I struggle, man, because I'm like, I want
Yes.
to take this course here for a week in Brazil, but I'm like, but man, I got to be at the
Yes.
office. And then, I want to go climb this mountain. That's going to be 4 days off here, another week here. And I'm like, man, it's just really adding up. Okay, I won't take the CE. I'll just go climb the mountain. Then I'll come back to work.
Yes.
How do you balance
Yes.
that, man? Like, what are you doing?
Man, I think, Nikki, you just have to have this mindset of, you know, this is what I tell my friends, and we they make fun of me because I'm always saying the same thing. I'm like, hashtag make it happen. I always
Right.
tell everybody, make it happen, you know?
Yeah.
And you, when you say it enough, you just begin to do it. It's you need to enter this mindset where you need to think about yourself and what makes you happy. And don't let other things stop you from doing what you really want to do because if you look around, there's people that work till they're 65. They retire and they
Yeah.
die. They die, you
I
know?
know.
I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like
Right.
that, you know?
Don't label me like that, man. Make it happen.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
coming.
man.
I'm coming, man.
Yeah. No, you have to do it, you know, because if you
Yeah,
don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Who's going to do
I
it
hear
for
you.
you, Neki? only
No
you
one,
can
man.
do
I
it,
got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, once you feel this, you know, mm, this validation for yourself where you feel like it's okay not to work all the time. It's okay to take time off for you to do the things you want to do, to go climb that mountain, to
Yeah.
go take that CE. Because I think you are just like me, Nekky. Dentistry is not about making money.
No, not at all, man.
Dentistry is
Yeah.
about making you feel good. I have days where I produce a lot and I leave work feeling normal.
Yeah.
But I have days where I produce nothing. Maybe I
Yeah.
did a free 4-hour procedure for my patient where I didn't charge him anything. And
Yeah.
I feel so good. I'm like
Dude, I love
sending
that about
photos
you.
to
That the
my,
fact that you would even say that, I love that, man.
oh,
Because I do
yes,
that shit
man.
all the
Yeah.
time too, man. We do this.
It,
This
it,
is what we
it's,
do.
it's,
It's part of it.
this is what we do.
This is what
This
we
is
do,
the
man.
truth,
Yeah.
and my mentors do it. And I feel good about doing that. It's like, why wouldn't I feel good about helping my patients?
Yeah, man. That's
And
the
this
most
is, this
rewarding
is,
thing you'll ever do is just doing a free
yes.
procedure. Yeah.
Yes, and if it's complicated and challenging and you overcame that at the end of the procedure and you've got the photos, to show your friends and you have it documented, it feels so good, man. I love finishing a procedure, going back to my office, nobody bothered me for 10 minutes and just looking at what I just did. It feels very rewarding, more rewarding than producing a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I think at the end of the day, it's about what makes you happy and not being afraid to take that step. I'll give you one example, actually.
Yeah, man.
My very good friend who reminds me a lot about you, actually, his name's Esteban Garza. He's always traveling with me, taking courses with me.
Oh, I see
And
him on
when
the
he
plane
first,
with you. Yeah, yeah. I know exactly who you're
yes,
talking about
he's
now. Okay,
always with
okay.
me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, when I was in Brazil, he told me the same thing. He's like, "Why do you go to Brazil so much?" And everybody says the same thing. They're like, "Hey, man, you got a family over there. You've got kids over there. Why are you in Brazil so much?"
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I tell them, I'm like, I have very good friends, from our planning center, Alan Costa, Shaban, Burgoa. They are like my brothers. And I tell Esteban, when I go to Brazil, it's like going home. And he got upset. He's like, dude, that's blasphemy. You shouldn't say that. Your family is here. And I'm like, no, you don't understand, but you will understand when you come with me. One day you'll understand. And now he tells me all the time, he's like, dude, when we're walking in Brazil
Yeah.
with our friends, having fun, listening to music, doing work, he's like, dude, this is our family. This is our second family. We are home. He's like, I'm so sorry. Now I know what you meant when you said we're home, you know?
Yeah. Dude, I
So,
gotta I gotta ask you a
yeah,
question. I wanna go to
yeah.
Brazil. I'm not scared of traveling anywhere. Anywhere I've been jumped. I've been through all that. I've been backpacking. One place in the world scares me, Brazil. I
Why?
don't, man, dude, it scares the shit out of me. I've heard so many stories of guys like being shanked, and maybe I just hang out with seedy folk. I don't know, man. Is it as scary as people say it is?
I've been to Brazil many times and I have not experienced that. I've been
Yeah.
to Rio de Janeiro, which is very dangerous. I haven't been there in a long time, and people from Brazil say the same thing. Be careful, don't go there. It's dangerous. You need to be walking around with shorts and a t-shirt and not with a phone and things like this. I think, every country has a city with dangerous parts.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
everywhere I've been to in Brazil, for example, in Curitiba, the south, with my friends, it's so
Yeah.
peaceful. It's beautiful. You can be 1 in the morning walking by yourself, and it's just super relaxing. It's a great climate. Also, it's a super chill vibe. Reminds me a lot of Austin, Texas, because everybody's just having a good time and chill, and people are friendly, man. Brazilian people are so nice and humble, and the food is great. The drinks
Yeah,
are
man.
good.
Ah, man. Okay,
The
I'm just not gonna go to
dentistry.
Rio. I'm going to Curitiba.
No,
How do I?
you need to come with me, man. Come to
Dude, I'm
Curitiba. Come
down.
to Tres Pontas. Yeah,
Yeah,
Tres
yeah.
Pontas is a little town in the middle of nowhere too. But this is where the best dentistry is. I really believe nowadays some of the best surgical, at least top three in the world, Brazil is there
But
for
why
sure,
Brazil? Like,
for
what
sure.
is it about Brazil that's going on there, man?
Man, first of all, Brazil has a lot of dental schools. I mean, one city has like 20 dental schools, something crazy like this,
What?
you know?
Really?
Yes, yes, it is
Oh,
crazy. I mean, it's very competitive, very competitive. So you got to be in your top game to be a dentist in Brazil.
huh.
And I think it's part of the culture, you know, it's part of beauty, it's
Yeah,
part of,
I've heard that.
working hard, and having uh passion for what you do as a dentist. It's very hard to bring technology into Brazil because of the taxes and importing, scanners and all this stuff and milling machines. It's very expensive, so they have to work with what they have, and
Yeah.
they do amazing, phenomenal surgeries, phenomenal aesthetic dentistry. It's just, for me, it's been a blessing being there and learning from Cano, learning from Paulo, learning from my friends at BDS. It's just the best place for dentistry, man. You need
Dude,
to come with me.
dude, I'm
You need
already
to
sold.
come,
I am
man.
coming with you. That's not a question of if, it's when. But my question for you is, if someone is, they've been practicing for a couple of years, they've decided they wanted to do more surgical dentistry, what, like, I know you go to Brazil, but how do I find courses in Brazil? What type of courses am I looking for? Like, can you give any recommendations? Like you said, the Implante Perio is a really good one. Are there any other courses that we can look up?
Yes, there are so many courses and so many congresses in Brazil. Is just overwhelming. I mean, I was talking to my friend. I think one of the things that I would do, knowing what I know now, Nikki, is
Yeah.
as soon as I would have graduated dental school, I would have just headed out for a 1 year or a 2 year residency around the world and just gone to the best institutes and stayed 2 weeks in one place and learned from this guy, 2 weeks in another place, learn from this guy. And that's what I would have loved to do. Since I didn't do that, I need to do that throughout the next few years. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah, yeah.
I'm always traveling. But man, there are many, many great courses that you can do. I think it doesn't really matter what you choose or where you choose to go. It can be here in the US, to start off a little bit slow, or in a neighboring country in Canada or in Europe. But I think the main thing is to understand that you will be and you have to be a student of your trade, forever, for
Dude,
life.
I love that. You're a student of your craft. You're a student of your trade for life.
Yes,
Totally, man.
yes, because once you feel that you've accomplished everything, I think it's not good.
Yeah.
you know you begin to lose some passion, because even as an instructor, and I have my mentors who are instructors, they're still taking courses with different people, and I look at them and I'm like, wow, this guy is a student
Yeah.
still, you know but how can they not be? There's so much stuff coming out all the time in dentistry that if you don't keep up and you don't keep going, somebody else is going to surpass you. So I think the most important thing is just to understand this is a journey, a never ending journey, and that's okay. It's even more exciting to know that it's never going to end
Yeah.
and that you're always going to keep going. Something crazy is one of the guys that goes with us to Brazil is 70 years old, and he
Wow.
went in the middle of COVID. Man, we were in Brazil when things were like crazy. We kept going like 2 3 times when people were dying left and right, and he was with us, and he was 70 years old. And we were kept thinking, we're like, oh man, I hope he makes it back, because we didn't know. you know
No, man, I can't even
but
believe you guys are going there. Okay, okay.
yes, yeah, it was crazy, but always safe. Everything was under control. Even to this day, I haven't gotten COVID, knock on wood.
Yeah, yeah.
But to see him at 70 years of age practicing as a dentist and still taking CE, it's it was very nice to see that, because it's not just about learning new things. It's about the experience, of making new
Yeah,
friends, and making
totally.
new friends that are as passionate about dentistry as you, and understand your passion and understand your journey and support your journey. So, man, it's exciting. I hope that I can be a student and I can always be traveling and combining my passion for travel and my passion for CE together, and travel for CE. It's exciting, man.
Dude, I love your mindset. I You inspire me to do better as well, man. But I also wanted to let people know about how cool you are, man. Like your graphic design, your photography. How did you get into all that? Like, can you share with us your website, the one I was telling you about?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So I have I have two websites.
yeah,
One of them is our office website. It's thesmileartisans.com.
yeah,
And my other website is kind of like my personal website for being a speaker, and it's www.drvgv.com.
yeah.
And like everybody else, Nikki, during COVID when we got shut down, I was like, man, what do I do? I have so much time. We were shut down for 3 months. We had to close our office for a long time, and
Right.
it was a blessing. It was a blessing to be able to have so much time for ourselves. I saw it as an opportunity, you know? And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, this is great. I have time that I never had time. I have time to spend with my family. I have time to grow as a person. And what can I do? What do I love to do? And then I'm like, man, my website sucks. I need to do something about my website?
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? I'm going to create my own website and I'm going to make it 100% organic. I want every single photo in my entire website to be a photo that I took of real patients, of my office, of the procedures, of the materials, of the experience. And so I just sat down and I started to create my own website. And then after I finished one, I'm like, I want to do another one. I want to do another one. And then so I made the one about just me being a dentist and kind of what I offer as a clinician and as a speaker, and I really enjoy this design aspect of creating my website. And the only thing is, it takes so much time,
It
Becky.
does
It's
take
like,
time, man.
gosh, it's killer. I had the time and I did it, and I'm happy. And actually, I did another website for one of my buddies as
Oh,
well,
nice. Yeah.
because he's like, "Hey, I really like your website." So I did that,
Yeah.
and my SEO guy is like, "Hey, I have a doctor over there. He wants you to do a website." And so I got excited, and I'm like, "Man, this is my side hustle,
Yeah. Yeah.
creating
Yeah.
websites."
Yeah.
But it just takes a lot of time
Too
to
much
do.
time, man.
I like taking photos and doing videos, but as you know, man, you do a lot of videos. It
Yeah. It
takes
takes time.
time,
It does
to
take time.
perfect that. Yeah.
Totally, man. And that's where, like, Third Molars Online was my COVID um
Yeah.
dive into drain. I'm gonna tune out the world and I'm just gonna focus on this for a year, and that's like, I hear you, man. It's my side hustle too, and I have so much fun with it right now.
Yes.
Yeah, no, man,
Yes.
that's so cool. I'm coming with you to Brazil, Vir, man. This is awesome. What's next for you, man? What do you got planned?
So, oh man, well, just my goal is to continue to grow my practice this year,
Yeah.
and to be a better leader for my team, to be a better father for my kids, to be a better husband for my wife, to continue to balance, to take more. My goal, Nikki, is to take more time off work and produce more,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and produce more, And
yeah.
so I am on a mission to be able to do this, to work less. I only work Monday through Thursday. Since I opened my practice, I had this concept of what the type of dentistry that I wanted to practice,
Yeah,
and the type of dentistry that I wanted to practice was very different than what all my friends were practicing and what all my friends were telling me to practice. I used to work for a really good dentist. I had a great job. And so when I said, you know what, it's time for me to have my office, I feel like I'm capable enough to give to my patients something good. As I continue to grow, my friends were like, oh, you're so stupid. Don't do it. You have a great job. Why would you open your practice?
right.
But I had a vision of what I wanted to do and the type of practice that I wanted to do. I wanted to be in full control, to see one patient at a time, to do a very personable dentistry, where I'm seeing less patients. From the beginning, I'm like, I'm not going to be in network. Not that there's anything wrong being in network, but
Right.
I just had this vision of, in order for me to be able to spend the time, I can't see too many patients.
Totally.
And so I said, I'm just going to be out of network. I don't care if I'm not going to make money the first year. I'm going to create this foundation to begin to grow this concept of what I wanted to practice. I'm gonna have just 6 operatories, one hygienist, a small team. My wife's gonna work with me. She's an orthodontist, and we're gonna have a small family-owned, comprehensive dental practice. And that's how it's been. My friends were like, "You're crazy, man. You need to have 10 operatories. Make your surgical suite smaller. Put 2 operatories instead of one surgical suite. Don't put a photography room. Put another operatory." This is what a lot of my friends were saying, because that's what we learn,
Yeah,
from
that's
in
what we
dental
learned.
school.
Yeah,
That's the norm, and I didn't want to be like that. So I wanted to be different, and I'm just very thankful that I had an opportunity. I think everything is just tying in. The investment I've made for myself to continue to grow, to offer something different, has helped me have a good practice, and be able to slow down, to take Fridays off so I can spend time with my family,
yeah,
to take a week off to go to Brazil, to take a week off to go to Cancun with my wife and my kids, and just continue to balance this. It works, man. I Esteban is my good friend. He said the same thing. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna do what you're doing. I'm gonna take Fridays off. So he
yeah.
began to take Fridays off. He's like, I'm
Totally,
gonna bring
man.
my wife to work with me too. So his wife's working with him, and he's like, dude, I'm producing more, working less. You know,
Yeah,
and I think
that's
that
the
has to
holy grail,
do,
man. That's what we're trying to get, right?
yeah, yeah. I think that has to do with being happy, being having a clear mind, to be able to focus, to see more treatment on patients that maybe you were not seeing, because sometimes we're in such a hurry going from room to room,
Yeah,
that we don't spend enough time with the patient. And when you don't
totally.
spend enough time with the patient doesn't trust you, so how can you get across the message for the patient to value what you're recommending if you don't spend the time with the patient? So for me, the greatest thing I can give my patient is time.
Dude, I think you nailed it right
Time.
there. That is, man. That's what we're all after, man. We're all after time at home, and we're all after, patients are after our time too, man. I love that. You said
Yes.
something really interesting though. Photography room in your office.
Yes.
What is that?
Yes. So I have a dedicated photo studio in my office,
Really?
and yes, yeah. From the beginning, you asked me how did I get into photography. I
Yeah.
got into photography, and actually trying to be an instructor, and to try to teach what little I know to my friends, and to share, and to open an institute here in Houston together with my friends. I never thought I would do something like this. When I was in dental school, I used to look at my faculty. I was so ignorant, and I used to say, why are these guys here? Like, they can be out working, making money. Why are they teaching?
Yeah.
But all of this changed when I started to go to Dental XP, and I would see these guys present these amazing cases with beautiful documentation, just beautiful photography, It's totally different than when I was in school and people would take a picture of the book and put that photo up.
So true, right? You see their finger pointing to what you need to know.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
man. It was like, that's not exciting,
Yeah, it's
and
not,
this is
man.
great, because now it's not just about the content that you provide. You have to, as a speaker, you have to say a story, and you got to have
That's
the whole
right.
package. It's like you
Yeah.
got to have good photos. You cannot just have a good content without good photos, because you are telling a story, and you have to use visuals to get people excited, about dentistry. And it's not easy, but I began to see some of my friends do this, and I said, I gotta dive in, just like you said. You
Yeah.
know, what do I have to do to that? Okay, I'm gonna start with my little camera, my Rebel, my
Yeah,
Canon
yeah,
Rebel
yeah,
T2i
yeah,
with a
yeah.
pop-up flash. And so I would take photos, and I'm like, why are my photos? Why don't they look like that? I have a professional camera. I have a Canon Rebel.
Totally, right? Yeah.
And and so then I'm like, okay, what do you use? And I took a photo course, and I took another one, and I just started to do research, and I said, okay, if I want to take photos like that, I need to use the equipment that these guys are using.
That's
It's
right.
super expensive, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's like I love to do it. I want to be like that. So I bought a professional camera, and I bought studio lights, and I said, I'm gonna have a dedicated room because it's
Yeah.
the only way that I can consistently, without making excuses, take the photos that I want when I want to take them. If I don't have a dedicated photo studio, it's very hard. You have to
Yeah.
set up, you're in the
Totally.
middle of a surgery.
Yeah.
You know how it is, man. It's like you have an amazing surgery, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Where's my camera? No, I
Yeah.
don't have time
I
for
don't have
that. I
time.
got
I don't
another
have time for
patient
that.
waiting. I don't
That's
have
right.
time." You know.
Dude,
But
I
if
hear
it's
you,
right
man.
there
Yeah.
and it's set up and it's part of your workflow, and you can just reach and grab it, it's gonna happen.
So are
So
you
this is
doing
why for
surgeries in your studio then?
no, good question. So I have two modes, two different styles.
Okay.
One is every new patient that we have goes through our photo studio, and we
Oh,
take
really?
all records, every new patient. Yeah. So every new patient has photos in the photo studio, so we can have all the diagnostic photos of the patient, the facially driven treatment plan that we're going to be doing. So already the patient is thinking like, wow, this is different. And something
Wow.
cool that we did is our office has a glass wall to the photo studio. So people in the waiting room can kind of see what's happening through the glass wall, and they're always wondering like, "Oh, what's going on? I want to have a photo like that."
Yeah.
So people feel good, taking photos, and we put good music, and they always ask, "Why do you take these photos, Dr. G?" And when I show them, I think it's probably one of the most valuable things I do for any type of treatment, Nekky. It doesn't matter if it's surgical, if it's full mouth rehabilitation, it is for a set of veneers, it doesn't matter, or for ortho. When I show them the photos and what my limitations are with a smile design, it is so easy for them to understand why they need ortho, why they need tissue grafting, why they need an implant versus a bridge. I mean, they have no questions after I finish explaining to them. Using the photos, they understand because it's such a great visual to communicate. It's not just, oh, you're missing a tooth here, you need to do this. Oh, you have a cant. They don't understand these things. But when
They
I show
don't.
them references, when I show
Yeah.
them these photos, they understand, and they are so thankful that I was able to take the time to explain. So for me, the photo studio is probably one of the most important rooms in my office.
Yeah.
My friends say, if you had another operatory, you could be making more money. But they don't understand that it's actually the photo studio that helps me
That.
sell the treatment plans, you
Yeah.
know? So I will never get rid of my my photo studio. Yeah,
Dude,
I
I
love it.
love that. I've never thought of it that way. And I like how you have the glass because you create like that anticipation of,
Yes,
a new patient. Hey, I'm going to get to go in there and I can see what, Dr. G could do to me. Right. That's awesome, man. I,
yes.
I really, dude,
Yes.
I love you, man. I find you so inspiring. Promise me something, dude. Take me to
What's
Brazil.
up, brother?
I want to come to Brazil.
Anytime, man. I've
Take
been
me,
telling you,
man.
you have to come, dude.
Take me, man. I
Hey,
want
we're
to,
going. We're going to Brazil. We're going to Brazil probably 4 times more this year, but for sure,
what?
August and October. Yes, yeah. I'm going back in
Really?
April. I'm going in August. I'm going in October.
Yeah,
So
man. I need to up
yeah,
my soft
you
tissue
let me
game.
know.
So that's what I'm after right now. So
Yes,
yeah, no. Well, it looks like I'll be going to Implante Perio.
August or October, man. You let me know.
Dude, I
We'll
love it,
make it
man.
happen.
This is awesome, dude. Vir, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate talking to you. I see a lot of myself in you, but you're just 10 steps ahead of me, man. So I really
No, man.
appreciate you coming on, and I love your mindset, man. And I gotta
Thank you. Thank
learn
you.
to be, a student of my craft. And I really appreciate you saying that, man.
Thank you so much, Nekky. Thank you for having me here with you today. I also admire you a lot. Like I said, you remind me a lot of my friend. I wish you guys lived closer. You're so far away in Canada. I
Yeah.
wish I could spend more time with you. So I really hope I have an opportunity to go to Canada and spend some quality time with you guys, or have you guys come over to Houston,
Ooh,
or
even
or or
better.
take a trip together.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
No,
it would be great for
we're
sure.
totally down, dude. Thank you so much, Veer. We'll chat with you soon. Have a great day, okay, buddy?
See you later, brother. Have a
Okay,
good
see
one,
you.
man. Big
You too.
hug.
You too.
Bye bye.